From moonwalking with the Jackson Five to facing court battles and foreclosure, Jermaine Jackson's life was a shocking story of fame, fortune, and a dramatic fall from grace. He had once been seen as one of the most talented members of the Jackson family, known for his smooth, soulful voice that perfectly balanced Michael's youthful energy. When fans heard his name, they thought of glittering stages, screaming crowds, and Motown magic. But behind the flashing lights and magazine covers, there was another side to Jermaine's story, one that few people knew. You won't believe how quickly everything began to change for him. And let me tell you, this is where it gets interesting. Back in the late 1960s and early 1970s, Jermaine lived a dream life that most people could only imagine. As part of the Jackson Five, he traveled the world, performed for millions, and became a teenage heartthrob. The group's songs like I Want You Back and ABC made him a household name, and his fame seemed unstoppable. While Michael was the star who would go on to become a legend, Jermaine wasn't just following behind. He had his own ambitions and wanted to prove himself. In the early 1970s, he made a bold move that shocked even his brothers. He stayed with Motown Records when the rest of the group left for Epic Records. At that time, Jermaine's loyalty to Motown was also tied to his marriage to Hazel Gordy, the daughter of Motown's powerful founder, Berry Gordy. It seemed like Jermaine had it all: a promising solo career, a strong industry connection, and a family name that carried global respect. Jermaine's solo career even started well. His hits like Daddy's Home and Let's Get Serious showed his talent and helped him earn a place in the music industry separate from his brothers. He had money flowing in, and his lifestyle reflected that success. Luxury cars, designer clothes, big homes, Jermaine enjoyed it all. At that point, nobody could imagine that one day he would be fighting just to keep his head above water. But here's the shocking part. While his siblings Michael and Janet became global superstars with massive success, Jermaine's career didn't grow at the same speed. His talent was never in doubt, but his music didn't reach the same heights, and the world's attention shifted away from him. This was when the cracks started to appear. As time passed, Jermaine's fame slowly faded, but his spending habits stayed the same. His career was steady, but no longer at the level needed to support his lifestyle. What makes this story different is how fast everything turned upside down. He went from being one of the world's most famous singers to someone who was quietly struggling behind closed doors. Fans continued to see him dressed in expensive outfits, smiling for cameras, and living in fancy neighborhoods, but few knew how much trouble was building in the background. The money that once seemed endless started running out, and opportunities became harder to find. Destiny took an unexpected turn, and Jermaine's life was about to change forever in ways he never could have imagined. The image of Jermaine Jackson as a glamorous star slowly began to fade as the truth about his financial problems came out. By the late 2000s, it became clear that Jermaine was no longer living the dream life he once flaunted. Court documents showed just how much he was struggling, and fans were stunned. He was earning only about $1,100 a month, an amount that seemed unbelievable for a man who had been part of one of the most famous music groups in history. Let me tell you, the craziest part was that he had gone to court asking a judge to lower his child support payments from $3,000 to just $215 a month. For a man who once stood on the world's biggest stages, this was humiliating and heartbreaking to witness. He claimed that the mother of his children was making more money than him, and this made the situation even more shocking to those who had idolized him. But here's where it gets interesting. This wasn't just a small dip in his finances. This was the start of a financial collapse that seemed to spiral out of control. It came out that Jermaine owed nearly $100,000 in unpaid child support. The courts warned him that if he didn't pay, jail time was a very real possibility. Suddenly, the brother of Michael Jackson, the king of pop himself, was being threatened with prison over unpaid bills. This revelation completely changed how people saw him. Instead of the talented star they remembered, fans were now reading headlines about his legal troubles and money problems. And it didn't stop there. Reports showed that his lavish lifestyle was crumbling. The 5-bedroom, 6-bath rental home he lived in at Calabasas was now facing foreclosure with a starting bid of more than $2 million. That was money he simply didn't have. The man who once toured the world and sold millions of records now couldn't keep his home. Every detail of his private life started becoming public, and the media loved the drama. The glamorous image of Jermaine Jackson walking red carpets was replaced by stories of debt, lawsuits, and desperation. Then came another twist that made things look even worse. Jermaine claimed that someone had stolen $150,000 worth of jewelry, furs, and clothing from a suitcase in his home. Whether it was true or not, this claim only made the chaos surrounding him seem even bigger. People wondered how a man who claimed to be broke still owned jewelry worth that much money. Critics began to accuse him of living beyond his means, pretending to be wealthier than he was while failing to take care of his responsibilities. This is how public opinion turned harshly against him, and his reputation took another hit. But here's the shocking part. The drama didn't just stay between Jermaine and the media. The mother of 2 of his children, Alejandra Jackson, had had enough of his broken promises and missed payments. She turned to the Los Angeles County Child Support Services Department to demand that Jermaine be held accountable. The courts moved quickly, garnishing his wages so that every dollar he earned would go toward paying back what he owed. For a man who once had millions, this was a humiliating fall. Alejandra even accused him of dodging his financial responsibilities on purpose, and she went as far as pushing for jail time if he didn't pay up. Just when fans thought Jermaine Jackson's troubles couldn't get any worse, 2023 brought a new wave of controversy that shocked even those who had followed his struggles for years. This time, it wasn't about money or child support. It was about something far darker. A civil lawsuit was filed against Jermaine, accusing him of sexual assault from the 1980s, and suddenly, the headlines weren't just about his financial troubles. The allegations painted a disturbing picture of the singer's past, suggesting that behind the carefully managed image of a Jackson family member, there were secrets that had been hidden for decades. What made this story different was that the timing couldn't have been worse. Jermaine's reputation was already damaged by years of court battles and financial scandals, and now, this lawsuit put his entire legacy under a harsh spotlight. Let me tell you, the craziest part was how quickly the narrative around him shifted. The same fans who once defended him now began questioning not just his choices, but his character. It was no longer a story about a man who mismanaged his money. This was something deeper, something that made people look at him in a completely different way. Even though Jermaine denied the allegations, the damage was already done. In the court of public opinion, he wasn't just a struggling musician anymore. He was a man whose entire past was being questioned. The Jackson family had already been through years of media storms, scandals, and controversies surrounding Michael, Janet, and other siblings. But this lawsuit against Jermaine felt like reopening old wounds. Every magazine cover and online headline painted the family as a dynasty of drama and controversy rather than music royalty. Destiny had taken an unexpected turn for Jermaine, and this lawsuit became the final straw for many people who had once admired him. The timing of this scandal was brutal. Jermaine had spent years trying to stay relevant in the music world, appearing at events and interviews, trying to rebuild his image, but as soon as the lawsuit became public, all of that hard work crumbled. His life story now wasn't just about fame and music, it was about disgrace, betrayal, and suspicion. Fans and critics began debating not only his career choices, but also his morality. Was Jermaine Jackson just a victim of a ruthless media machine, or had his own actions destroyed everything he had built? This is how his downfall stopped being just a financial tragedy and became a story that cut much deeper. For decades, Jermaine had been remembered as one of the original voices of the Jackson 5, a man who helped shape Motown's legacy. But now, his name was tied to something much darker than missed payments or foreclosures. Whether the lawsuit would ever be proven true or not, its existence alone was enough to stain his legacy forever. The media frenzy grew stronger than ever, and Jermaine's name became a trending topic for all the wrong reasons. Jermaine Jackson's story became one of the most heartbreaking tales in music history, a reminder of how quickly fame could fade and how even the brightest stars could fall. Once celebrated as a Motown sensation, touring the world and performing hit after hit, he was now remembered for lawsuits, financial ruin, and scandals that overshadowed his talent. Fans who grew up idolizing him couldn't believe the transformation. The same magazines that once praised his style and voice now filled their pages with stories of his missed child support payments, foreclosures, and the shocking lawsuit that followed him decades later. What makes this story even more tragic is that Jermaine came from one of the most famous families in the world, yet he couldn't escape the shadows of controversy, and perhaps never would. As time went on, public opinion only grew harsher. To many, Jermaine was no longer the soulful voice of the Jackson 5. He had become a cautionary tale of poor financial choices, bad business decisions, and personal scandals that destroyed his legacy. Others argued that his story was a result of the music industry's harsh reality, a system that used young stars for profit and then abandoned them once the spotlight moved on. Still, the civil suit in 2023 felt like the final blow, attaching his name to controversy that no amount of music success could erase. The once beloved Jackson brother had become a symbol of wasted opportunities, and the chaos surrounding him seemed to follow him wherever he went. Let me tell you, destiny took an unexpected turn for Jermaine Jackson, and that turn changed everything. Even though some people defended him and blamed fame for his downfall, the damage to his reputation was too deep. He was no longer just a man who lost his fortune. He became a figure who symbolized the dark side of fame, the part nobody wants to see. His journey from stardom to scandal left people questioning everything. Could he have made better choices? Was he neglected by those who profited from his talent? Or was his fate sealed from the start, growing up in a world of fame before he was even old enough to understand it? This is how Jermaine Jackson's story turned into something much bigger than one man's mistakes. It became a lesson about the cost of fame, the pressure of growing up in the spotlight, and the consequences of personal choices that never truly disappear. Even now, his life remains a topic of debate among fans and critics alike. Some see him as a victim of the music industry's machine, while others see him as a man who had every opportunity but let it all slip away. What's clear is that Jermaine's name will forever carry both admiration and controversy, a reminder that behind every glittering stage and screaming crowd, there can be a reality much darker than anyone could imagine.